Hi, and welcome to Chapter 12 as we wind up this section on method. Of course, there's a lot of application in this method, so that's why I've used the term, but technically it's still part of the method part of the book. And these are my final thoughts in this Chapter 12 for the method application. I call this the true self, a spiritual understanding. Now, starting with Swami Muktananda, who was the teacher of or one of the teachers spiritually of Dr. Fritz Frederick Smith, and I've read several of his books. I did not know the man, but he's interesting. He's a Shaktipa guru, which means he's one of these gurus who can draw the energy that's sleeping in your spinal column at the very bottom, the female creative part, up to the yang part, which is consciousness part. Siva Shakti, they call it. Siva's here, Shakti's at the bottom. They come together. This is the wedding in heaven. Esoterically speaking, which we'll maybe get into in some other types of productions in the future. However, starting with Muktananda, I quote, "The truth is that God is not found through any action, technique, or path. God is found through right understanding. It is because people lack understanding that they become deluded and suffer." Yes, part of being a healer is understanding that type of reality, that we have to be on the path of enlightenment. If you get anything out of this presentation, you should understand the impulse towards enlightenment is the impulse towards healing. Healing's not so that you can go out and live a life of debauchery. Healing's about restoring yourself back to a state of ease rather than dis-ease so that your enlightenment can go on. That's what it's about. And your path to enlightenment will always be unique. No master in the world can ever replicate your path. Now, HBP, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, I quote, "They know that the self is the real ego, and that it lives and acts, though on a different plane. The external life is a dream to this ego, while the inner life, or the life on what we call the dream plane, is the real life for it." This is by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. She, of course, lived from 1831 to 1891. She founded the Theosophical Society and was the emissary of the Eastern Masters who still frequent the Himalaya Mountains, according to legend. So we're talking about being on the path of a healer, what it means to be a healer and being on the path. It's important that we ourselves are on the path of enlightenment or we're wasting our time. Now, a book that really reinforces this and a person that reinforces that is Julie Matz. The Path of a Healer. In her book, Hands of Life, Julie Matz says quite a bit on this. First of all, Julie Matz, the energy healer, discovered that the clients she was working on in New York hospitals had many of the same emotional issues she had. Most sensitive healers begin to know this for themselves, sometimes early in their career. Matz usually would work with a team of doctors and medical professionals during organ transplants or other types of operations. She also realized that the surgeons themselves had the same issues as the patients they were working on, but they didn't realize it. They were still living the Western motto, "I am not you," this separation. But they actually had a connection to these people. If you're a healer at all, you realize that a lot of things that you're working with, especially emotionally with people, are things that either you've solved or you are in the process of solving. And that's why you two are attracted to each other to begin with. Like attracts like, not the opposite. Now, all healers must meditate. This is part of it. If you don't develop your own consciousness, you can't get in tune in sympathetic vibration with the higher consciousness. All right? Now, healers must meditate. Here you see the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was the teacher of Deepak Chopra, who really was a great influence on Dr. Wayne Dyer. Now, the system of meditation used by Dr. Deepak Chopra and Dr. Wayne Dyer is taken ultimately from the transcendental meditation method of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Now, with transcendental meditation, you begin to move from the waking state to the dreaming state to the dreamless sleep state, and eventually you will obtain the trance-like state of the Atma itself, the divine self. You see, this is why the masters like Jesus of Nazareth, as well as the Solar Logos, of course, but masters like the Buddha, Siddhartha, and other ones who you may not know, can do these manifestations because they're conscious at that level. To be conscious at the Atma level is to have control over all physical phenomena. especially mineral kingdom, and to multiply loaves and fishes. To have control over the vegetable kingdom is dreamless state. Be conscious in that. To have control over the animal kingdom, where no animal will ever harm you or attack you, is to be awake in the REM state, consciously in the waking state. Okay, so all these things are fantastic and phenomenal, and this is what we're striving for every day. But we want to be positive clairvoyants, where we access these states and shut them off. We don't want to be negative mediums who have no control over our higher senses. Now, why healers must meditate? What is the ultimate point of meditation for the healer? First, you are becoming enlightened by the real truth about who you are. Second, by developing these states of consciousness, you will be able to shift to them while applying fulcrums to your clients, causing a healing shift to take place in their energy and physical body, whether they are aware of it or not. And this is what I began to discover, that when I was doing these shifts with people, that I myself, if I had been there in my meditative states, I could more easily draw them there as a conduit, as a vehicle. But it's up to them and their free will to respond. You cannot force anything to happen. But you yourself can be a better conduit. Now, the final goals of consciousness, in this I'm showing you right here, I'm showing you again the 7 planetary conditions. The 4 states of human consciousness, as discussed thus far in this work, are what we have inherited from our descent into matter. That's a review there. We have 4 states of consciousness because we are on our 4th planetary condition of the Earth itself. And our past consciousness and our future consciousness is going to be, all these states of consciousness that we have now will be redeemed with conscious awareness, so that we will be conscious in every one of these states, rather than unconscious on the couch somewhere, sleeping it off. And that'll be good. And the final goals of consciousness in this chart I show you here is that ultimately we started with the trance-like consciousness on globe A, and our physical phantom, which is the resurrection body, esoterically was formed. On globe B, we had deep sleep consciousness. That's in the past, of course. And that is where our etheric bodies were first formed. And when we had animal dream state consciousness and our astral bodies were being formed, that's in the past. That's A, B, and C. Now we have waking consciousness. We have an ego, and we're awake now. But the future, we will redeem C as psychic picture consciousness. We'll be able to use that imagination consciousness, and this will be working in our higher manas. Our super psychic God consciousness will be on globe F, and will be even more universal in perception. And finally, our spiritual universal consciousness is redeemed, our Atma, divine spark consciousness, where the ego then can say, I am that I am, a self-referencing existence. So I end part 2 of the method, which had a lot of application in it, with the same statement as before. There is no religion anywhere in this world or in the world to come that is higher than truth.